We're here today at the Women Helping Women event that's sponsored by the Paso County Republican Women and in partnership with the Department of Human Services from El Paso County, Colorado. This is a great way for these ladies who have maybe never been employed or haven't been out seeking a job in some time, the opportunity to pick out clothes, to jewelry, shoes, bags, and prepare themselves for the workforce. And it's a way for us to give back to our community and to also help women who may not have had the opportunity to establish a career, to give them that opportunity.
We want to help the women. We want to guide them. We want to be their friends, so they have somebody to lean on.
We have a lot of people that participate in donating the clothes that we get, and this year I think we have a record-setting clothes donation. The Women's Resource Agency gives us a lot of our clothes, a lot of the case managers and the technicians up at DHS.
We have 37 volunteers here today. At the event, the last count that I got was like 70, but we've had people come in. But I do want to also state that this allows our employees the opportunity to get away from their desk and come out and meet with their clients one-on-one and, engage with them more so than just on a business level and a more personal level.
It's just a really good event, and I think at the end of the day, the clients can really appreciate it, and it's just something different that you don't see that goes on a lot, And like I said, something as simple as we wake up and we get dressed. People don't have that luxury of getting up, having something nice to wear to go to an interview or a job or anything like that. So just something that we may overlook as something so small, it's really not to them.
I had one question when the TV was interviewing me one time, and they said, how do you think you can help women in one day when they've been this way, maybe some of them for years? I said, because we are working with them. We're friends. They can ask questions, and we give suggestions, and it works.
We've had clients come to this event and several get employed. Several come back to our case managers who are just kind of giving their story about how they went through this event, how they've become successful. And so that's really good to see. We all have a heart with this event and making it successful as best as possible.
I was coming in today to try to find some resources and maybe some prospective job opportunities. It's actually been a wonderful experience. I was able to get resources, more resources than what I thought I was going to get. I just want to thank everybody who's here, the employers, the resources, the people who put it together.
Good morning, ladies. As you notice, regardless of my age and the weather and whatever, I'm here. And I think today would have been a good day to have stayed in bed, don't you? Jan, do you have the flag? Oh, there it is. Let's open with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Would everyone stand? Jan, lead us in the pledge.
Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jan.
Do we need the sound here?
No. I'd like to start off by introducing my club members. We're the ones that helped do this. Marcia, why'd your last name just leave me? Marcia Brewer is our new president. And Mary Bradfield, Mary Bradfield is our treasurer. And Jan Cummings has helped do this from the day one. We can't do it without Jan. And Jan is a past president of the State Federation, and now she is also head of the 5th District, which is the district we all live in Colorado Springs. So Jan, would you give us a bow?
Thank you.
Oh, Mary is also secretary of the Republican Party here. I forgot that. She has a double job. I started this in 1997, and we're still going, and we're getting bigger and bigger, and we're very proud of it. When Denny came on board, Denny has thought up many changes, and she's just been a great lady. We love working with Denny. Denny, what is your job here? I lose you. I don't know what you're doing now.
I don't either.
Oh.
I'm a supervisor in the ongoing food assistance and medical assistance unit. I was with TANF for 10 years, and then they kicked me out, and now I'm in food stamps.
Where is Becky? Becky was right here. Did I lose her? Well, we'll catch her when she comes back in. Becky, this place couldn't be operating without Becky Jacobs. She's worked for it for 40 years. There she is. There's Becky. And Becky's still going. So I think one of these days we'll all retire at once, okay? Yeah, we'll have a party.
I'm up for a party.
And where is our director?
He's not here.
Rick isn't here yet?
He's not coming.
Huh?
He's not coming.
He's not coming. Well, we'll miss him. He's a nice man and a good director here.
Yes, he is.
Do we have any others that I need to introduce, Denny? No? Did we cover all the big shots?
I believe so.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, we still got people.
I'd like to introduce to you our speaker this morning, Anita Pacheco. She is the site director for Otero School. So Anita, would you also explain that and tell us what you do? We're happy to have her here. We always start with a motivational speaker to get you in the mood for getting ready for close and meeting the employers and getting ready for a job. Anita.
Good morning. I have a couple of notes here to keep me on track. Anyway, my name's Anita Pacheco, and I am the site director at Otero. Well, I actually work for the Boys and Girls Club, but I'm the site director at Otero Elementary School. And I have been asked to speak here today because I was on the diversion program just a few months back. First, just a few minutes about myself. So I had a home daycare for 7 years, and I was financially very successful. And the plan is that I was going to transition out of that, and I wanted to go back to school. I wanted to become a counselor and help troubled youth. I had finally come to grips with some things that I dealt with as a teenager, and so my goal at that moment was, which I mean still is, but however that fits in later, was to go back to school, get a licensing a counseling degree, and be able to help troubled youth to kind of avoid the path that I had when I was younger. And in the midst of all of that, my life kind of went from really normal to just completely out of control. And I, by choices that I made too, it wasn't, anybody else's fault. I don't want to blame anybody, but I found myself pretty much like homeless, jobless, and I was living with my son, me and my 11-year-old, she's my niece, I'm raising her, And I thought, well, okay, it was a change in plans, things twisted and stuff. And I just thought, okay, well, I'll just get a job, I mean, it's not that hard. Well, 2 months went by and I didn't get anything. And my money had run out and I didn't have nothing, not a dime, anything. And so I finally went and I applied for food stamps. And then I thought, well, that's okay. I'll be okay with food stamps. I'm living with my son. I didn't have to pay for anything. And then, it got harder and harder. And so then I had to apply for finances, I got on diversion. And I really am very thankful for that because I didn't realize, things have changed in a long time, over the years. And I was on welfare like years ago, like 25 years ago, and then it wasn't anything like it is now. And so when I got on diversion, they gave me a packet. I don't remember, I don't have it with me, but it was like community resources, and so I just kind of started going through that. And I was calling. They had a few housing places in there because I needed to get, I really did need to get my own place. It was getting really crazy, and I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat. It was really bad. And so I hadn't taken the bus for years, and so I came to so I applied for food stamps, and then they sent me to Employment First, which was actually right here in this building here. And they gave me bus passes, and then I also got a job coach, which is Nicole. She's here. I asked her, make sure you're here, please. And so they, Nicole, she's like, well, let's sit down and work on your resume, because I didn't have a resume, and I didn't even know where to begin. And, as we sat down, it took a couple of hours, and we were writing like my job history and, things that I had done, and things that I didn't think of that were important, especially volunteer work, which that actually was how I ended up getting my job. And so we did this resume, and then I told her, well, I think I want to, find a job where I can counsel youth, And then she's called me one day, and she's like, well, I found the Boys and Girls Club, and, I think you'll qualify for the group lead there. And so I tried really hard to get that job. And I was just like, it felt like I was just like pushing doors to try to, get in. And my, the 7 years of experience with the daycare, I didn't have verifiable hours is what they wanted. And so then, I went back like to the school district, because I used to work for the school district years ago, and they still couldn't give me that. And, they could give me like my time frame of where I work. So I just had like all these obstacles. And, then because she had suggested, we'll put on there your volunteer work, on your resume. And I kept hearing that in the classes that I would come to, like volunteer where you want to work, volunteer where you want to work, and I felt like I couldn't go back to school because I had to financially support myself and my daughter. And so, okay, I want to stay on track here. And so then it was my volunteer hours at my church that I was able to get into the Boys and Girls Club as a group lead. So I finally was able to do that. And but some of the resources that was Pikes Peak Workforce Center, I would go down there. It's on the Garden of the Gods building, and go there and work on the computers. And that was good because I didn't have internet where I was staying, and I didn't have a computer. And then coming to the work fair here, I met somebody from the Women's Resource Center, and so I signed up with them, and then they helped me with clothes to, go on an interview. And then I took an interview class, and then, she was talking about life experience. She was saying that nobody can take that away from you. So if I would have went to school and got my degree 20 years ago, it might not be relevant now, but everything that I've experienced in life, nobody can take that away from me. And so then when I had come here to Employment First, one of the classes that they sent me to, we were learning about transferable skills, and I really felt like at that point, after a few months of not being able to get a job and being in the condition that I was kind of like, man, like there's not anything out there for me. I've really felt like kind of getting to that point of hopeless, like what am I going to do, getting desperate. And then I went over that list of transferable skills and things that were so simple, like listening skills, or, just she was saying like your attitude, when you go in, like it could be me and somebody else going in and we're both qualified for the job. But if I go in and I present myself with a good attitude, and I do my hair, do my makeup, and, have that bubbly spirit, then maybe I would get the job over somebody else who just went in there and didn't really care if they were there or not, So things like that I never thought about were really important. And then, let me see, sorry. So then I got the job at the Boys and Girls Club finally, and I started out as a group lead. It was part-time, and I just went different sites wherever they needed me, whether it was the clubs or going to different schools. And I happened to be, I want to say, at the right place at the right time. One of the licensing specialists had come in, and she was doing an inspection on that school. And then I asked her, I said, well, what is the difference of this license? Because I had seen a lot of familiar paperwork from my daycare, and I said, what is the difference of this license and the license that I had? And then she's like, well, actually, there's no difference. She says, if you've ran your own daycare, she goes, you can be a site director. And then she's like, well, who is your licensing specialist? And so, we talked, and she's like, oh, yeah. She's like, I'm actually helping her write you a letter right now. She's like, and we'll have it in the mail within the week. And so when I got that letter and a spot opened up for a site director, I was able to apply for that, and I was qualified for it. And even though I didn't have the training, I had only been on the job a month. There was people that have already been there a few years, and I thought for sure they would get it over me because they were already trained and ready to go. And I was able to get the job. So I'm very thankful. I am site director. And I think I really want to say this is, I called Nicole along the way. Every step of the way I kept calling her, and I was like, I have this opportunity, and I have this, and I need a cover letter, and what's the difference, and because I already had a cover letter, and, it's like, well, it's the cover letter that makes you stand out from all the applicants that get, that put their applications in. It's, your cover letter is going to say, hey, we want to pull this one out and we want to look at that. So I took a little bit of time and, worked on that, and things that I'm really okay talking one-on-one to people, but, like getting it down on paper, or, like it said, sitting with Nicole and working on my resume, she helped me think about things that I would never have thought of on my own to put there. And with that cover letter too, I looked on the internet and I just looked at sample resume, sample cover letters, and I was like, oh, okay, I get it, I can do this, but things like that I didn't have to do years ago. I didn't have to put in applications or resumes, and it wasn't as important as it is now, and I realized that. And I think I just want to kind of encourage you this way, is that there was times where I was at like I said, I didn't have any money, and I had a really good friend, best friend, who really helped me too, that I can really say, and then my son and my daughter-in-law, and that really helped me along the way. And like we didn't have toilet paper, and my friend, he'd take me and he'd buy toilet paper, or my friend, we'd go someplace and she just kind of like rolled up some money and handed it to me, and things like that, where I felt like I was alone, and but I am just really thankful. And I just want to add this one last thing, is that I ended up falling in love with my best friend, and I'm really excited. And so I just want to encourage you that there's hope when you feel like there is no hope. There's hope.
That was lovely, Anita. You're very, very well spoken, and you worked hard. We're proud of you. We just had some sunshine come out because Sally came in. What is wrong with me this morning that I cannot think of last names? Sally Clark. What's the matter with me? I didn't know anybody's last name. I'm stuck on first names, which I use a lot. Sally, would you like to speak, please? Give these gals a little encouragement.
So I could have used all of you a few minutes ago. I had water in my basement, so I was a little late because I was had the shop vac out. So we women can do just about anything and then turn around and go to an event. I know it's warm in here, and you want to get to really the meat of it and get your clothes and really have an opportunity to succeed. But I'll tell you a little bit about myself and then how I think that you can be successful in whatever you want to do. My dad was a school teacher. I grew up in a house where my mom worked part-time. My siblings and I were raised as one family, and my dad adopted my 3 siblings. I was the baby. I was the last one out. And as a result, I know how hard it is for families to make ends meet. And my husband was in the Navy. We came here. He got a job, and we opened a bed and breakfast. And I've been running a bed and breakfast now. June 9th will be 29 years. I was the youngest, probably the youngest in the state to open a B&B. I was age 24 at the time. And so I really want to say that you can do anything you put your minds to. And how I became in politics was kind of by accident too. The fire chief at the time wanted to close our fire station, and I got all wrapped up and a little angry and frustrated about that, and so ran for city council. And then ended up on the Board of County Commissioners. And that's the short story that has a lot more to it than that. But what I want to tell you is that you can do anything you want to do. That those of us that are in politics didn't necessarily grow up with silver spoons. We were from working class people, and we know how hard it is to make ends meet. Now, as an employer, I'll tell you a couple of things. And I want to tell you one story, and I want you to think about this. Because as you're looking for jobs, it matters what you look like. It really does. And one day, never know who's going to be the owner of a business. Could be out in the garden in her muddy shoes, cutting back the roses and pulling out weeds. And a girl comes to the front door, comes up to the walkway, and she's arguing with her husband in the car. She slams the car door. She yells at her kids in the back of the car. She's not dressed very nice. She has a cigarette in her hand, and she walks across the street, puts the cigarette out on my front walk, and stamps it out, and walks up and says she's here to apply for a job. And, of course, she probably thought I was the gardener. I guess I was, because I'm a small business owner, and I kind of do everything at my business. Do you think she ever even got in the front door? I just turned to her and said, sorry, the job's been filled. And that was the last we saw of her. So then she walked back over, yelled at her husband, got back in the car, and drove away. So think about first impressions do matter. And you never know that person who's sitting at the front desk can make the decision whether you get in to the back office, to whoever you're trying to impress. So when you go in, even if you're dropping off a resume, and some great tips about how to put a resume together, and I know the Workforce Center and different resources can help you with that. There's a lot of online resources as well. Think about how you dress, how you look, what your first impression is, even if it's just to drop off a resume or to fill out an application. I don't require my folks who may come to apply for a job, I don't require that they have a resume. I do require that they fill out an application. So make sure you bring your references, the phone numbers of your references, how an employer would need to follow up to see, and personal references I found as an employer are sometimes more valuable than the work ones. And I'll tell you why. Because a work reference, we're very limited on what we can tell someone about an employee and a former employee, unless of course they were stellar. But if there was a problem, we really can't say sometimes. We can verify their work dates, and that's about it. Personal references will tell more about you. So people that know you personally, that know about you, are very valuable to someone who's an employer. The other thing in terms of what you wear, look professional. Wear closed-toed shoes, not flip-flops, not tennis shoes. wear, black pants and a white shirt is always fine. Nothing too revealing. Look professional again. Think about your hair, your makeup. If you have tattoos, cover them up. Hopefully you can. Not nose rings and crazy jewelry. Try and look tasteful and more conservative. On the more conservative side is the better side. It's okay to wear a little bit of color, but keep it professional. Those are the things that I want you to just think about and smile. Think about your handshake. Don't squeeze too hard, but don't be limp. Because if somebody gives me a firm handshake, and it shows me that they have confidence. We have a business where we've had employees come to us and they've had horrible moments in their lives. One girl I can remember, her name's Tiffany. We still correspond. She worked for me. She ended up working for me for 14 years. She had an abusive boyfriend, and we dealt with this off and on when she came to work for me. But she didn't have a job, and she wanted to work, and she didn't finish her college education. She had a high school diploma. But she was so sweet, and she was so nice, and she was so good with guests. And so I hired her. She became my head innkeeper for many years. She had an affinity for the outdoors, and today she works for the National Park Service in Colorado, kind of on the Colorado-Utah border, for Dinosaur National Park. And so she's doing her dream job, and she's a guide, and she loves the outdoors. She was, we used to call her our granola girl, and she made us recycle everything, and it drove us crazy, but I can't throw anything away today because I always think Tiffany wouldn't approve of this. So again, I want to just instill in you that you can accomplish anything, and I know it's not easy. You're starting from a place where you haven't been working, or you've maybe never had a job. But there is someone out there that'll give you a chance. Just think about what you would look for if you were going to an employer. And remember that person who is sitting in the front office who may take your resume is probably the first screener that will say, because when I come home and somebody says, oh, somebody showed up at the door with a resume, the first thing I say is, well, what did you think? My staff, they're the screen. And if they say don't bother, I won't bother. If they say this person was dressed nice, she was very friendly, she really wanted to work here at the Holden House at the bed and breakfast, and I think she's got potential, I will give someone those opportunities, and others will too. So I'll end right here by just saying once again, I grew up in a family that wasn't wealthy. My mom and dad struggled for a lot of years. I was lucky I had two parents and wonderful parents, but you can do anything you want to do. And I'll tell you a secret. I have an associate's degree. I don't have a bachelor's degree, but I was able to become a medical assistant, and I worked for a physician in California for quite a few years in the cancer field. And she, another female, gave me the understanding that I could start my own business. And she was an incredible businesswoman as well as a great doctor. And that was my mentor. And there's mentors out there that can help you too. So good luck, ladies. And again, you're going to be successful as long as you have the enthusiasm, the smile, the dress, the understanding that you want to work hard and you can do anything. Thank you.
Becky Jacobs would like to give you a few words of encouragement.
Thank you, Joe. My name is Becky Jacobs, and I think Joe told you this morning that I'd worked for the department for 40 years. It's actually been 42 years. I celebrated this March. And I was grateful for the 40 years because I was doing a speaking engagement for a group a couple of years ago, and the fellow who introduced me was a good friend of mine, and he told the group that I had worked for the department for 69 years. I think some of them believed it too. But anyway, I want you to know that I also grew up in poverty. I come from a very large family, and I was actually a 5th grade dropout. But that's a story for another day, and that's actually true. I did drop out of school at 5th grade. But the truth is that everybody has a story. All of you have a story, and you're all unique. But we do have the ability to make our story successful or not. And we can sort of let our past, depict what we're going to do, or to guide us in a way that, makes us victims of, the circumstances that we're in. And we don't have to do that. Today I'm the Director of Employment and Family Support Services for the department. It's a very good job, and it's a job that I love. But I want to tell you today, I want to talk about Joe and Jan and the Republican Women. This is a group of people who came together in 1997, was it 97, when we were implementing welfare reform. And they wanted to do something for women, to help women who needed that little push. And they put together this wonderful project, which has been going on now for 15, 16, 18 years. And you can see that they love doing it. They continue to do it. And this is the only project like this in the state, and I think the only project like this in the entire country. It is amazing. So all of this is for you. There are people who want you to be successful, and you need to take advantage of that. There is no reason that you can't use these resources to, be whatever you want to be. And, if you went back into that back room, wasn't that amazing? All the employers that are here, ready and willing to help you. Their employers are coming to you. You don't even have to go out there. And you're going to get free haircuts today and lots of clothes. But I want to say thank you to Joe and to the Republican Women for doing an amazing job. And we have a little something for Joe to help brighten her day. She's having some health issues, and we hope that she enjoys them.
Thank you so much.
You bet.
You're such thoughtful ladies.
Yeah. Please stand and give Joe and the Republican Women a very nice hand. You don't have to stay. And I also want to thank Goodwill and all the employees of Goodwill for doing an amazing job. The employees of the Department of Human Services who work hard, for months trying to put this together and making sure we have everything that we need. Our speaker was amazing this morning. Thank you to all the employers and all the resources that we have out in that other room. And I hope that you make this a great day for yourselves. Thank you.